at that. How are we doing there, Senzo? Have I got to bar? Oh, yep, I've got the bar right in the wrong place. Okay, we can't go too much closer, just hold on. Let's do this. There we go. And I will put my head out of your way. There we go. The Nkuhumas looking a little bit bloodied, a little bit dirty, and covered just in general in buffalo muck. But it's wonderful to see them eating happily away. And you can hear the snarls and the growls. And that's a big buffalo they've caught. That's wonderful news for them. Sorry, a little bit gory for some of you. Perhaps this is your first time watching. This is your first time to see a kill like this. It is the reality of life out here. There's no supermarkets for them to go and get their nice pre-packed meat. They have to catch it themselves. And that can be quite a gruesome business. Let's do a head count quickly, since it's been so long since we've seen the Nkuhumas. I think all 5 of the lionesses are here. Amber Eyes is definitely here, and I saw another lioness lying up not too far away. And Senzo, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to move just to make space for this other vehicle, so excuse my head, everybody. Hello, Amber. It's alright. We're just going to shift back ever so slightly. There we go. That way we can all fit into the sighting. There we go. So we've got a good view and they can get a good view as well. How's the job and how are you? Good. Hi guys. Slightly over prepared. Oh, Yarbin's just teasing us about our roof, which is fair enough. It hasn't rained at all. You can see the lionesses growling at each other. There's Amber Eyes, obviously immediately distinctive by her bright orange eyes. It's so wonderful to catch up with them once again. Look how big you've got! Oh, you disgusting little creature. You filthy dirty. And you've got so big. That is unbelievable. From those tiny little teddy bear, fluffy, adorable creatures that they once were, they now look like little miniature lions. And they're going through that proper gangly phase. Like teenagers that have grown too fast and their bodies haven't quite kept up. And of course, it doesn't help that they are covered in buffalo, which adds a certain raggedy dimension to their demeanor. Here we go. Senzo's first lion kill. And his first sighting of the Nkuhumas and the cubs, which is awesome. I cannot... Of course I know that it's inevitable that cubs grow. That is what cubs do. Are you surviving there? That is what cubs do. Yet it's whenever you go away for a while or you don't see them. Look at this cub snarling at the lioness. Oh, you cheeky thing. And dinner time for lions means every man, woman or lion, I suppose would probably be lioness or lion, for themselves, cubs included. And that means fighting off mum, or one of the lionesses that actually did all of the hard work. Then, well, that's just the way it has to be. And cubs, very young cubs, will often get smacked around when they try to feed or they push things too far. Let's just listen to this for a second. Okay, settling down again. Sorry, the sound effects at a lion kill like this are always so awesome that you actually have to stop and listen to them. April, you want to know how old the cubs are? The eldest must be, sure, what would it be now? 8 months old. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. Almost 9 months old. Have I got the maths right? Have I got their birth dates right? I must have done. It must be nearly 8-9 months old. And then the youngest must be around 7 or so months old, or just under 7 or so months old. For the life of me, I cannot remember their exact birth dates, but that's the rough sort of, that's roundabout where they are. And of course we don't know exactly when they were born. We suspected, and we saw the youngest when they were just a few days old, but we don't know their exact birth dates. But those of you who perhaps have access to your records, when were these Nkuhuma cubs born? I think I'm right. But if you could just confirm for me, and obviously you can do that using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. And you may wonder why, when we've watched cubs grow up, that we don't know their exact ages. It's because we barely know which day of the week it is or which month of the year it is half the time. So keeping track gets a bit tricky when all of your sightings blur into one. I know that they've grown immensely. Look at the claws of that one cub on the buffalo, stretched out and gripping onto the skin. Shiny white up against its muddy paws. Anisha, yes, it is absolutely true that lions cannot purr. All of the Panthera members so the members of the Panthera genus, tigers, leopards, lions. And I actually think, not included in that family, but I actually don't think that cougars can purr, if I'm not mistaken. Those of you who live in those areas, maybe you've seen them, you can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that cougars can't purr either. And it's a function of for lions at least, their hyoid apparatus, the bones around their larynx, are adapted to be able to stretch right out to allow them to roar. And that changes the shape of things, and it doesn't allow the vibration of purring. So technically lions cannot purr. They make sort of almost purring sounds of contentment, but it's not a proper purr. They kind of grrr, it's like a low growl when they're contented and they're rubbing up against each other. But they definitely do not purr. You can see they're panting very fast at the moment, and that's because a combined effort of taking down a massive buffalo bull like this, and we've seen them hunt live before. We know what it requires from them, and it requires a huge amount of strength and skill and stamina. These buffalo bulls do not go down without a fight. So they've probably spent most of the evening taking down this gentleman. And unfortunate for him, but for them an absolute necessity, especially with 6 growing cubs to feed, who are going to start eating more and more and more. Oh, the amazing thing about lions is that in one go they can usually eat between 5, even up to, at a real stretch, 10% of their body weight. So for these lions, in answer to Julia's question, for these lionesses, they weigh probably around about 120, 130 kilograms, maybe even a little bit more. So that would mean around about 10 kilograms of meat, between 6 and 10 kilograms of meat in one sitting. And they will continue to gorge themselves at you too. I'm going to play a little bit. Oh, so gross. So what would that be in pounds? Potentially over 20 pounds of meat in one sitting. And remember, they'll gorge themselves, and then they'll go and lie down, and then they'll come back and gorge themselves some more. And as we watch them devour this carcass over the course of the next few days, those bellies are going to look so fat, you'll actually be astounded that they can move at all. It's one of those things that predators are able to do. It's basically stretch out their bellies and properly gorge themselves in a way that we as human beings can't really do, or shouldn't really be able to do, let's put it that way. Hyenas, leopards, lions, they all are fairly capable of that. And what that means is that for the next few days they're actually going to be completely bloated, boiling hot, and very lazy. And that's not their fault. It's because the digestive process releases a huge amount of heat whilst breaking down all of that meat as rapidly as they do. And so they're constantly feeling overheated. Hello, ladies. Long time no see. It's good to see them looking so good. Wait, out of my way. So there you go, Mira. You wanted to know about why they are panting so heavily. It's a combination, quite potentially, because this is a relatively fresh kill. This probably happened in the last few hours, so it's a combination of the effort involved with hunting something like this and then gorging themselves. And if you can imagine, look at those bellies. They're not even fully stuffed yet. But you can imagine that the more they fill those bellies, the more it presses up. Remember how I told you they can gorge themselves? And press up against their diaphragm. So it causes that panting. And then most importantly, it's the release of heat. Oh, this cub's going to get cross. I can't tell if she's licking the cub or a buffalo. It releases a huge amount of heat, so they need to pant to cool down. Obviously, lions can't sweat. They're also very, very prone to overheating. And there's evolutionary reasons for that. But essentially, they cannot really move about during the heat of the day. Their body temperatures can't rise much more than a degree before they start to really struggle. Look at those claws. Only a few months old and already equipped with some serious weaponry. And you can see them retracting in and out. It's actually the perfect example. If I can't eat the buffalo, I'll clean you. Nope, I'm going to move my paw. Just in case Mom makes a mistake and forgets she's giving me a bath and tries to eat my foot. Well, we're going to sit here for a bit and enjoy the company of the Nkuhumas, but let's go and find out what James is up to.
For a little bit longer. I think you should sit there for a lot longer because, of course, we just don't know when we're going to see the Nkuhuma Pride again. Likewise, Brent Leo Smith should sit with Xongile for as long as humanly possible. It's wonderful to have them with us once more. Now, we're approaching Beefleshoek Dam. The drainage line that feeds the dam is just down over here, and so we'll go around this corner and then make our way down to the water in a leisurely fashion. Now, we're doing it and see if my luck at Beefleshoek changes. Because I have to tell you, it hasn't for a long time. There have been many, many visits to the dam where I have not seen anything at all. Now, Ginger, you're wondering about giraffe here in the Sabi Sand. They're not... I don't think they're very thick on the ground. We do get them, but they're a little bit like the monotonous lark in that they're nomadic. So they don't have fixed territories, or like the elephants, for example. They don't have fixed territories, they don't have fixed home ranges, which means they will be in an area for a while, and then they'll disappear, and you won't know where they've gone, and then eventually they'll come back. Come, let's go down this way. Well, Herbert's gone wandering off the other way, but I want to see the water immediately. Craig, if you could refrain from falling over at this stage, that would be great, because we just don't know what's down through here. Let's be very quiet as we walk to the water's edge. There could be a buffalo. There could be Mvula the leopard. There could be nothing. And indeed there is nothing. Of course, whatever there was has probably run away, because Craig keeps falling over small sticks. Craig, Batman was quite a stealthy person. Well, here we are. Now, it's very seldom we get a view of Beefleshoek Dam from this angle. And there it is. Not a sausage. Lots of barn swallows just on their final sort of insect gathering missions before the trip home for them. I'm just giving Herbert the sign. Water in the sand, which of course is the best way to get clean water out here. Let's do a little foray around the shoreline and see what tracks we can find, see what's come to drink here. Obviously there was a very large elephant that came through here. I'm now standing both feet inside one of his front foot tracks. I can do a full pirouette in there, which I think is quite impressive. And then there are various bits and pieces of birds. We need to reboot the pack, so I think let's head straight back to the lions and we'll catch up with you at the other side of the dam.
Luckily our lions are still with us, not that they're going to go anywhere, and James is absolutely right. We're going to spend as much time as we possibly can, particularly in this spot. And the reason that I say that is we are right up close to the boundary of Elephant Plains and Simbambili. And to the west of us lies probably the largest hyena clan in this area. It is apparently an absolutely massive clan. We call it the Elephant Plains Hyena Clan. And it consists of at least, according to the other guides who see them, at least 40 hyenas. Now that's enough hyenas, and they've been known to do this before, to chase off these females, particularly if there aren't any males in this area. And if there were a male lion around, he would be right here on top of the carcass. Look at that dirty face. Look at you. Your scruffy face. You need a wet wipe. Now Taylor, you were wondering about hyenas stealing the kill and whether hyenas or wild dogs could do so. Hyenas, yes, potentially, if you have a good balance of numbers, particularly since these lionesses have cubs, so they're likely to be relatively safer rather than sorry in terms of protecting their carcass and the cubs. So if hyenas came in and mobbed them, and I would guess that the number of around about 20 to 30 hyenas would have to gather together to chase these lionesses. There are 5 of them to protect this carcass, and that should be enough to stave off the hyenas, but it is possible if they gather together and work together as a clan, which of course is what they're very good at. Wild dogs? Absolutely not. A wild dog is afraid of lions. A wild dog falls well below them in the predator hierarchy, just in terms of sheer weight. And we've seen it before, the Styx lioness that killed one of the wild dogs during Brent's sighting. All predators will kill other predators if they can. That's just the natural way of things to reduce competition. But unfortunately, in that case, the wild dogs weren't fast enough to get away. If the wild dogs were to come running through here and they saw these lions, they would turn around and run immediately in the opposite direction, with the lionesses potentially chasing them as well. And lionesses, they go full tilt when there's a wild dog pack around. They don't half-heartedly chase them away. They really, really go for it. As we saw with that Styx lioness, even after she'd killed the one wild dog, she went for the rest of the pack with serious intent. So no, wild dogs absolutely not. Hyenas, possibly. Beautiful sighting. It's just Jarman and myself on lock. I think you can make your way in. Now, Steve, you want to know when the vultures will arrive. Steve, I think that's what you said anyway. I had 2 voices in my ear. Steve, they are already here. It doesn't take a vulture very long to find a buffalo carcass like this. So if we have a look, Senzo, if we have a look over there, there's the first of the whiteback vultures gathering. It's in that dead tree up over there. Can you see it there? Yeah. It's just over there. Yeah. There's the white-backed vulture. Here we go. Awesome. So there's the first of the white-backed vultures. More and more of them will gather. And that's, of course, the way in which vultures work. They've got phenomenal eyesight. The first few will spot the lions on the carcass whilst they're soaring around and thermaling. And then the rest will gather as the day heats up, because, of course, the vultures need the rising warm air currents to really properly go off in search of food. But once the day starts to get warmer, they'll start to thermal. They'll see the other vultures and come and have a look at what they're looking at, and so on and so forth. So the process will just continue to repeat itself until the point that we'll probably end up with about 20 vultures or so here, possibly even more. So there you go, Steve. The vultures have arrived. Just one for now. I did see some others not too long ago, but it's just the one here for now. The lions are really truly enjoying their meal. They were obviously quite hungry. Now Tracy, you want to know, because of course there's a bit of aggression happening here. I want to know if cubs have ever been killed whilst feasting on a kill. There are 1 or 2 recorded cases of it happening. It's very, very unusual, and it's usually something that doesn't happen because of the adult females or the adult males, because the adult males, of course, are far more tolerant of their cubs than they are of the lionesses, because the cubs are theirs, or as far as they know the cubs are theirs. Look at your bloody face. Oh, quick nap in between feeding. Maybe it's weird, but I find that very sweet, that it's passed out on the buffalo. Usually when cubs get killed, it's when they're quite young and they've overstepped their mark in terms of pushing in to feed off the carcass, and it's usually sub-adults or younger lions that could actually turn around and kill them, or even actually older cubs. If there's quite a big age gap between the cubs, the older cubs don't quite have control or realize their own strength or the fragility of younger cubs, and they could potentially kill them. It's one of the reasons why lionesses don't really introduce their young cubs to the pride until they're about 6 or so weeks old, just because they need some time to be... Oh, I wish my camera battery was not flat. I would so love a picture of that. You'll have to take screenshots for me. Let's see how vicious it can get. It's unusual for a cub to die in this process. Sometimes what happens is a whack with a paw, and remember that these lions have paws the size of a man's hand with a great deal of strength behind them. So sometimes a whack with a foot or a paw could actually cause an injury that could then result in death if that cub doesn't heal quickly, if it's not able to keep up with the rest of the pride. But it's very unusual for that to occur. We're going to enjoy our time spent with the Nkuhumas and appreciate the fact, since we are downwind, that this particular carcass is quite fresh. The lions have been lucky in their hunting attempts. Let's go and find out whether the same could be said of Xongile.
Well, Xongile has not moved, and neither have we. So what's happened is that the ducks have relaxed a lot. So they've moved right to the edge. The young ones are just feeding and moving around. So hopefully her patience game is the winning game. So you can see there the babies. Now a lot of the babies are much closer to the edge in the grass where you can't see them. So I think what she really hopes is that they feed towards her and they forget that she's there. I mean, there is a reason that there's the term bird brain. They tend to forget things quite quickly. So I think that's what she's hoping for, and she's just keeping very, very still, good patch of cover, and hoping that one of those little ducklings wanders up to her. Hi Colleen. Colleen's wondering, can Xongile swim? Indeed she can. Not very well, but almost every single animal out here is able to swim, apart from rhinos and hippos, of course. Yes, yeah, well done. So rhinos and hippos are probably the 2 only species that can't swim. All the animals can swim. It's just depending on the degree of performance that they're able to achieve. Now, again, one must remember that a lot of animal behavior is area specific rather than species specific. So leopards that live in the Okavango Delta or in the Congo Basin rainforests, they swim a lot. They have to. They've got to swim to get to different places where they're able to hunt and get food. Where there's leopards in the Sabi Sands, will tend to prefer to jump over water, and there's lots of crocodiles, and not that there are no crocodiles in the Congo or in Botswana, but given the choice, leopards prefer not to swim, but they can swim. So can lions, so can cheetah, so can wild dogs, so can hyena. They just don't do it very often. And it's definitely them spotted a crested barbet. So we've seen some nice birds while we've been sitting waiting for Xongile. We've seen a redback shrike. We saw some weavers having a little domestic tussle over some grass earlier. Oh, there's 2 barbets actually, Vim. I think that one's in a bit better light. See there, and that one. Where's he now? Oh no, sorry, a little bit to the left. There we go. All puffed up. It's still quite chilly this morning. It has warmed up a little bit, but you'll notice the birds are still puffed up waiting for the sun to come. So when they puff up like that, they trap air between their feathers and their body. Oh, off we go. I'm taking the spot of the other one. And they puff up their feathers to try trap the air between their body and their feathers, and it warms up and creates a lovely little insulated blanket for them. And of course, at the moment, we are continuously serenaded. That's not a word, Leo Smith. Serenaded by the Karachani button quails. I quite like it. Off goes the barbet, and off goes Xongile. Oh, what is she doing? Has she found a terrapin? No. Laurie is wondering, are there crocodiles in most of these large pans? Well, Laurie, you don't know, to be honest. The only way to make sure you never get eaten by a crocodile is to never test. And I have seen crocodiles in pans smaller than this before, so it is possible. Where are you off to? Xongile, you're supposed to be patient. Just see her tail disappearing. Now she might be trying to move around to where those little ducklings are, but it's going to take her a while to get there, and so she's got to try find as much cover as possible as she moves around the edge and not be spotted by the adult whistling ducks. Okay, well, we're going to keep watching her progress, and if anything happens or if she gets closer, we'll be right back. But while we wait patiently, let's go see how Bond and Batman are faring with the supervillains of the bush.
Yes, indeed, hilarious. Syncolostinum bracteosus we have over here, and quite a nice difference between the bracts you can see there, which are not flowers, and the flowers over there. And on this very small plant I have spotted at least 3 different kinds of invertebrate. Can you believe it? One of which, I wonder if they're not male and female of the same thing. You see that bug there? It's like a little shield bug. Okay, I'll try and point it out to you here where my finger is. I'll see if I can make it move back up. There it is. It's a shield bug. There it goes. Got it there?
Yeah.
There's the shield bug. And it's being attended, or it is, sorry, oh, now I've let go of everything. It is attending, or being attended by, a whole lot of smaller ones down the side here. One of which is now here on this grass. See this black? It's very difficult to manipulate. Sorry everyone, let's scrap those two. Let's go back to the shield bug, which is now climbing up the grass stalk there. Can you see it there?
Yeah.
There it goes. And I thought maybe we'd found some male and female ones. Isn't that lovely? And there's such a nice smell coming off this sort of basil-like smell. And then, what else did I find? You just keep looking at the shield bug there. I'll see if I can find the other thing that I saw. It's a very, very tiny thing that I'm actually not going to try and show you. It looks like a little fly, but it's too small and too hidden. So just a huge amount on every single little flower that we stop and look at. Julia, I'm assuming that you are asking this with your tongue firmly in your cheek. You say, what kind of beetles were Timon and Pumbaa eating? They were eating fictional beetles, Julia. the meerkat and the warthog that lived together quite fantastically in The Lion King and found all those colourful, delicious things to eat under their log, I'm afraid very fictional. Yes, they could have found, I suppose, a rainbow shield bug like we found and eaten that. I suspect it wouldn't have tasted very good. I think beetles probably taste a bit better because they don't have the toxins or the smelly things that these shield bugs do. That is a fascinating query. And all around, of course, also the great industry that is the life of ants continues to occur. And if I look over there, you can see an expired grasshopper shell that has been sucked dry of any moisture. And if you look just sort of around it, you can see interesting things. Now, I mean, even yesterday the weather was foul, so it's not like there would have been a huge amount going on the ground. But on a sunny day, go and just sit in a spot like this, you will see an astonishing array of life, well, provided it isn't in the middle of a city. From ants to these shield bugs to flies to, I can see a little broad-bordered grass yellow butterfly flittering through there. I can see spiders in amongst the grass culms here. And if you look on the ground, you'll find all sorts of probably hunting beetles and various other interesting things. It really is very special this time of year. Okay, let's carry on going. We'll sort of turn south now after Buffelshoek Dam. There was one hippopotamus there. We didn't decide to hang around with him, and so we're going to carry on back towards the car, and I believe that the ultimately patient animal, I'm talking about the leopard, not the man, is about to arrive at the ducks.
Well, Xongile made one bad move. She jumped and made a bit of noise, and the ducks heard her and moved, keeping their babies safe. There always might be a straggler. You never know, in the grass in front of her. But I think she messed that one up a little bit. Now, Xongile, it's not very flattering that you're being outsmarted by a bird with a brain probably a 16th of the size of yours. But patience might pay off. We're certainly hoping that patience pays off. And as you know, it might not be the duck she's been stalking. She might come across something else that appears. Yes, they're moving away from you, madam. She's not looking very impressed with herself. Or maybe it's tactics. Maybe she's trying to get them to go to where the really thick bush is, where she was earlier. And as I said, now that Karula possibly hasn't abandoned her completely yet, but has left her alone for an extended period, this is now when she's going to hone those hunting skills. So every failure is a lesson learned. From what I've heard, it seems Savanna is doing better on his own. And last was seen looking quite full in Hoffman's somewhere. Colleen's wondering, if a leopard was hungry, would it steal from a lion kill? Ooh, not normally. That would probably be too dangerous. I have seen male leopards do it before, but only off old lion kills, not fresh lion kills. I don't think they would ever attempt if the lions were still there. But if they were hungry, they will scavenge. You can hear the bird life is waking up at the moment, and while Veerman and I sit here and enjoy the blissful morning chorus, let's go back to lions on a kill.
Our blissful morning chorus consists of the ferocious growls of the various lionesses snapping away at the cubs. As you can hear, there are other people in the sighting with us, as is regularly the case. The tourists come to see these amazing sights as well, and of course, as you know, when tourists come through, they bring money in that can be used in a very valuable way for the conservation of these animals. So for those of you that can hear the laughter and so on, they're having a marvelous time. They're enjoying the sighting as well, and we're happy to share it with them. Also, Ryan's been keeping me thoroughly entertained as well while you've been with Brent. And good morning to Annette. Annette, I wish I knew where the male lions were. I have absolutely no idea where the Birmingham boys are. I assume they've gone to go off in search of some food themselves. So just to clarify, because particularly in this area there's a misconception about lions. A male lion is not a part of a pride. A male lion, or a group of male lions known as a coalition, has a territory, and that territory will encompass the territory of several different groups of females. Maybe just one, but often 2 or 3 different prides of females. So the males are not always with the females. Often they are. They come and visit, they come and steal their food, eat the lion's share, play with the cubs, and then potentially mate with the females, and then off they go again. But the males have got an important job to do, and they've actually got to patrol the territory around this area to make sure that no other males come in, because any other male that would come into this area would automatically kill those cubs as a natural instinct in order to bring the females back into estrus and to mate with them. So we don't always see the males with the females. The males are more, despite the rumors, or the misconception perhaps is a better word, the males are not incapable of feeding themselves. They are more than capable of hunting, and they're very good at it. So they don't need to be with the females. They often are, but as far as I know, the Birmingham boys are not on this particular property. They were yesterday. They were up in Zimbabwe yesterday. So I'm not quite sure where they've gone, why they've separated from the ladies. Perhaps the ladies managed to ditch them. And just by the way, for those of you wondering about head counts, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 adult lionesses here. So all 5 Nkuhumas are here. Though just 2 of them are particularly well hidden. You can hear Amber Eyes crunching away. Now, of course, once we've done a head count of adults, I'm going to try and do a head count of cubs for you. There were 6 apparently yesterday, so I have no doubt there are 6 here as well. It's just a matter of trying to see them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I can see. Oh, 6. There's 6. 6 has just emerged behind behind the other female with a totally revoltingly bloody head. So there's 6 of them here. Here we go. No cause for concern. All 6 present and accounted for. It's very special actually to see all of our... Oh, big yawn from a little cub. It's very special to see all of our Nkuhumas together again. It's actually been a very long time since we've seen them feasting together like this. Now, Sandy, you want to know if a lion ever eats so much that it throws up. Generally, if it throws up, it's because something's disagreed with it, or perhaps the intestinal or the gut parasites are playing games with its digestive system and making it feel a little bit unwell, or it is... That's another big yawn, showing off those adult teeth now. And growing all your adult teeth. Sorry, we were talking about vomiting lions. Often when they throw up, it's because they've ingested a piece of hoof or a piece of bone that their digestive system isn't managing to break down, that they can't actually break down to pass it along the digestive tract. And that's when they throw up. It's not usually from gorging themselves. I've never seen a lion throw up from gorging itself before. They are very, very well adapted to be able to stuff their bellies. So it's not like a human being where you could actually force yourself to eat to the point of needing to vomit. And whenever you see a lion's vomit, oh, okay, ladies, it's okay. One of them just got a little bit of a fright. The rest of them are still gathered, and actually, one cub taking full advantage of Amber Eyes' surprise to take her place at the buffalo's bottom. It's something that the part of the buffalo that they always go for. Oh, these cubs are looking disgusting, but in a rather sweet way. And while our mucky lions sleep off their very full belly, it seems as though James has encountered something underneath his shoe. Let's go and find out what it is, because it isn't gum.
Well, it's not underneath my shoe so much as being blocked by my shoe. It is a massive, massive solifuge. And for many people, the most terrifying animal out here. It's not quite a spider, it's not venomous, it has got some vicious biting mouth parts, however. And this one, I think, has been caught out in the day. It's normally around in the night time. And if I move my shoe, I suspect it'll start to move off eventually. Let's see. I mean, it really is a very big example of a solifuge. Let's give him a little bit of an encouragement, shall we? Hello. Come on. Now, he's decided that he's quite angry now. I'll see if I can get him to bite this. There we go. Just look at his mouth parts moving. You see that? They're sore. So his mandibles have got these sores on them. There, now he's trying to push this out of his mouth. They've got these vicious sores on them. He's got 4 kind of biting mouth parts, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and they saw almost completely independently of each other. See that? See them going? And I mean, look at the muscle driving them. Oh, goodness sakes, this grass is irritating. Look at the muscles there that are driving those mouth parts. Isn't that amazing? They're enormous. Now, I wouldn't want to get my skin in the way of these sawing mouth parts. Hello. And I think the only reason they're extremely fast moving, and I think the only reason he's not moving faster is because of the temperature. Look at that. Oh, you wouldn't want to be bitten by that. And I'm sure that you were all having a squealing time at the sight of this vicious creature. Now imagine, of course, you can see exactly why so many of the extraterrestrials that we find on movies are based on the mouth parts or heads of insects, because this thing at our human size, can you imagine the terror you'd feel if you saw something this, or something the size of a lion designed like this? I think it would be quite terrifying. Craig, you're right there. You're making a few sort of grunting noises. Are you okay, are you? For now. If bushwalk cameramen do have quite a physical job. And Bibi, you say this is worse than watching lions eat a buffalo. I know exactly what you mean. This creature just looks terrifying, doesn't it? And look how its head is balanced, sort of in this, I don't know what it is. It's sort of a cup almost on the abdomen that holds it in place, because its head is largely just jaws. Nancy, you say the stuff of nightmares. Well, absolutely, it is the stuff of nightmares, isn't it? And you can imagine watching something much bigger than this, same design, with a couple of sound effects thrown in. Terrifying. Oh. All right, Craig, shall we leave him? Ooh, I got a fright there. I was knocked out of my complacency. Alright, off you go. Isn't that fantastic? I think that's amazing. Right, we're going to start walking quite quickly back towards the car. We're still some distance away. We need to get back there. Hopefully we'll pick up some leopard tracks on the way. Who knows? And the weather has not sort of got much hotter today, which I think is rather nice, and hopefully it will maintain just like this today. Julia, nobody knows the answer to this question. You say, how many species of insects are there in the Sabi sand? No one knows. There are countless species of insects here, and I don't know that anyone's ever done the research to try and find out. If you go, I mean, I was describing earlier the method by which you sort of would go to a tree like this to find out how many insects are in it. You'd clear the underneath, you'd put a big net underneath it, a very fine mesh net, and then you'd sort of gas the tree and then shake it, and anything that was living in it would then fall out into the net, and you'd then try and find out what was in it. Now, don't know. I don't think anyone does. How many shield bug species are there? How many different kinds of stick insects? How many different kinds of other kinds of bugs that we don't know? How many undescribed species of insects are there here? Because there will be many of them. How many different kinds of ants are there? No one knows. I suspect probably 80% of the creatures that do occur here could be identified by a taxonomist. They'd have to be specialist taxonomists in their own specific fields. So, for example, in order to identify all of the wasp species that we get here, you'd have to get a hymenopterid expert, and maybe even not just a wasp expert, but an expert down to the specific families of wasps that you get in order to identify what we have here. And all of this just serves to show how almost completely impossible it is to know how many species of insects we have here. And if you combine that, of course, with the fact that people are generally not nearly as interested in insects as they are in, say, birds or mammals, that general kind of amateur enthusiasm that drives, our bird lists are all amateur bird lists, right? None of us are professional ornithologists, but we love birds, and so we keep a list of them. But I wonder how many viewers have kept a list of insects. And it would be quite difficult for you to keep a list of insects, of course, because so often we find something like a shield bug and we say, well, that's a shield bug. But I mean, there are probably thousands of species of shield bug in the world, so which one is it? No idea. So that's a very roundabout way of telling you that there are many different kinds of insects in the Sabi sand and the world over. Let's head across to Jamie. She's still with those lions. They're having a bit of a snooze. We're going to catch up with Herbert now.
Having fantastic breakfast, actually, is what our lions are up to, snacking away. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to wait a little bit before we made our way into this lion sighting, just to let everybody else have their chance to see them, so that we could come and sit and spend as much time as we wanted to with them. Just because, again, we never know when these Nkuhumas are going to disappear at the moment. They've been following the buffalo, and since the buffalo haven't been on Djuma, we haven't really seen them. They've all been up north towards Buffelshoek and Manuleti. I'm particularly chuffed that we've had an entire morning spent with our very, very grubby looking Nkuhumas. There we go, this young cub has taken Amber Eyes' place at the carcass, tucking in right into the back around the spine. And this carcass, between the 11 lions here, will probably be gone by sometime tomorrow afternoon. If it even makes it that long. I've noticed that these cubs seem to have basically bottomless pits as stomachs. And for the Nkuhumas, food doesn't go quite as far as it used to when they were just the 5 lionesses on their own. One cub cautiously sticking its head in. Now, of course, all of them are looking, well, not their cleanest, let's put it that way. And Julia, the blood won't stain their fur. What will happen is once they've eaten their fill and eaten the sort of the majority, this is the messy part of feeding off a buffalo carcass, because it's they have to get the intestines out of the way, so that all of that brown stuff is half digested grass that the buffalo's consumed, and then of course all of the organs, which are the bloodiest part of the buffalo. Once this buffalo carcass is past a few hours old, the blood congeals properly and it doesn't cover their faces in the same way. It's just not as fresh. But what will happen is once they go down, once they've finished feeding, the lionesses will clean off the cubs will clean off themselves and each other. That's the joy of lions, is that they do allo-groom. They groom each other. And they'll be pretty much clean probably by tonight. And they'll still have a muck on them every now and again, but it won't be nearly as bad as it is now. It also is because the cubs keep climbing into the carcass itself, and it really isn't very clean in there. Once the carcass is more fully open, they won't need to get as grubby in order to have access to meat. So no, the blood doesn't stain them. Otherwise lions would be, I guess, a dark red all the time. You can see the lionesses are not nearly as filthy as the cubs. They haven't tucked in with as much relish. A good question from Take Care, because it's becoming more and more relevant the older these cubs get. And Take Care would like to know if these cubs would have been involved in this kill. Probably not at this age. We have seen the Nkuhuma cubs participating and learning on younger and smaller buffalo, and I think Taylor had an incredible sighting where the cubs were practicing their springing technique and sort of grabbing and holding onto the back of the buffalo. Not pleasant for the poor buffalo, of course, but an important learning curve for these cubs. However, a big buffalo bull like this, they probably would have had to stay out of the way. And the reason that I say that is just because a massive buffalo bull like this is capable of killing an adult lioness, let alone an inexperienced cub. So they probably would have had to stay out of the way. What you might find, because this is very common with cubs of this age, and for the next year or so, these poor lionesses are going to have to put up with every time they try and stalk something, well, not every time, but most of the time when they're trying to stalk something, a cub goes and messes it up. Yes, I'm talking about you, you mucky creature. Decency to go and defecate away from the breakfast table. But yes, the cubs want to help, they don't know how to help, and as a result they tend to alert the animals to their presence. I'm going to carry on sitting with these lions. I'm under no pressure to go anywhere. So while I do that, let's send you over to a feathered friend of James's, I think.
I'm afraid that thing's got no feathers on it, and it's because it's a little baby. It's a baby dove spotted by me. That's obviously a lie. I didn't spot it. Herbert spotted it, and there are two of them in this nest, and I think they're probably Cape turtle doves. I suspect they're not more than, I'm going to go with 10 days old. They grow extremely fast, obviously, and by 28 days or so they'll be out of the nest. And so those are two. Can you see them both? Not Eggsy. Craig? You can just see the one behind. They're very cute little things, and they're not sure if they've been spotted or not. But of course they're totally helpless up there. They have no choice but to stay exactly where they are. They might try and jump out of the nest if we got close. That would be a definitely bad thing for them to do, because they'd never be able to get back in. At least if they did jump out while we were looking at them, we could put them back in. I don't buy the argument that adult birds won't touch their youngsters if they smell of human being. Isn't that cool? No feathers at all. And again, I was saying yesterday, we watched a little covey of Franklin's. It was a big covey, and there were some very little ones with it, and I thought that that was perhaps a second clutch. And I think the year has been so good, rain-wise, and therefore seed-wise, Many of the seed-eating birds, of which the doves are one, they will eat insects as well, but they do eat lots of seeds. I think you'll find that this may be a second clutch. Kirsten says it looks like they've got lots of feathers. No, they don't have lots of feathers. They're just getting their feathers now. That is a dove, though. Pretty sure it's a dove. Must be a dove. They've got feathers on their backs. I mean, they're growing. The feathers are coming. And they're very well fed. I think that's marvellous. All right, let's move away from them. I'm sure they're feeling an extreme sense of stress right now. And now they can relax because they don't have Batman staring at them. Sorry, Batman, I'm getting in your way. There's something of vital importance I wanted to tell you, and now I've forgotten what it was. I thought of something. While I think about it, I will just tell you that Batman reminded me of a nursery rhyme. The nursery rhyme, I'm a little teapot, short and stout, this is my trumpet, this is my spout. And I resent Batman for this because it is now going to be stuck in my head probably for the next 4 weeks. While I think about this, Brent Leo Smith has got something infinitely more interesting and playful.
Well, we're still with Xongile. We've just seen some dwarf mongoose running across the road. She hasn't heard them yet. Now, that is another thing she would definitely hunt at the moment. She's still very focused on the ducks, who are very good at avoiding her. There she is. She's still staring at them. But if she opened her ears, she might hear the dwarf mongoose close behind her. But Xongile, poor little Xongile, so hungry. And there's so much lovely duck just out of reach. Remember, hashtag Safari Live if you have any questions for us. Now, the one thing I must mention, the one thing you don't expect to hear from James Bond and Batman is I'm a little teapot, short and stout. I think you'd probably think that, well, who do you think you'd hear that from? Little Miss Muppet or Cinderella, rather than Batman and Miss Piggy. Yes, and not something you expect to hear from Batman and Bond. Well, she's gone to sleep on her feet, waiting patiently. One little bad jump and the ducks scatter to the middle. Obviously, they're not too concerned about her. Catherine's wondering, what are Xongile's chances of survival now? I'd say they're very good, Catherine. And once a leopard reaches a year old, the mortality rate drops from about 70% down to about 12 to 15%. So she's got about a very good chance of survival. And as I said, this time alone is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, she is getting the best training when it comes to catching food, and that's called hunger. When you are hungry, you make a plan. And that's one of those things that, well, gets to me slightly about a lot of these. There's a lot of programs and places that pretend they have to rewild animals, hand rear them, teach them how to hunt, which is absolute twaddle. You do not need to teach a leopard or a lion or a tiger or a cheetah or a wild dog or a hyena or any animal whatsoever how to hunt. Those instincts are ingrained in them. So anyone who tells you they've kept a wild animal to teach it how to be wild is talking absolute nonsense, and they are keeping that wild animal for selfish reasons, either for financial gain or personal gratification. There's no reason whatsoever to have to hand rear one of these animals and then keep it into its adulthood, all you do is minimize its quality of life and the choices. Because once you've hand reared an animal, that animal can never be let go into the wild, because it has lost its natural fear of human beings and is now a serious danger. Now, there's lots of horror stories about that type of stuff. I know of one occasion where someone raised a hyena, and it used to play with the dogs. It was best friends with all the dogs, and he used to pet it and cuddle it and whatnot, until one day he just took one wrong step. She moved. No, she's still there. He took one wrong step. He fell slightly funny as he got older, and that hyena's instinct took over, and that little sign of weakness caused that hyena to bite him. He nearly died. I mean, he had massive amounts of stitches and surgery, and what happens to that animal then is now considered dangerous, so it's generally shot. So people who keep animals in cages don't really like animals, in my opinion. They think they like animals, they like the way animals make them feel, but they don't actually think about the long-term well-being of the animal. Pug Sanatic says, well, what happens if Xongile catches an adult white-faced duck? What happens to the cubs? Well, there should still be one more adult to help rear them, or to rear them to adulthood. You must remember, by this stage, a lot of the instincts of survival are already in those little ducklings, and they're already feeding for themselves. So it probably wouldn't spell immediate doom and gloom, but of course it would be more difficult, and you would find the success rate of the ducklings would probably drop without two vigilant adults to keep an eye on the little ones, to keep them safe from things like Xongile. Well, it looks like she's laying down, Vim. You see the tops of her ears sticking out of the rocks. See what happens.
While Xongile rests, our lions have been very busy, and you can see the injuries on this buffalo's shoulder, and it just goes to show how sharp those lions' claws are, because buffalo skin is unbelievably tough, and yet that when they jump onto the back of a buffalo like that, that is how they manage to stay on, by digging the claws into the flesh of the buffalo's shoulder. And it's a very intense and very difficult thing to watch lions hunting a buffalo. We've seen quite a few of the buffalo hunts live, and it always takes quite an extended period of time with these old bulls. And I've just been thinking actually about Derek and Beverly Joubert, who of course are acclaimed documentary makers, photographers and conservationists, and they had a truly unfortunate incident with a buffalo in their camp that both of them were very lucky to be able to walk away from, albeit after considerable surgery. And of course our thoughts are with them during their recovery period, and we're very, very glad that they're, and that's why the teamwork is all important between lionesses. And it does happen every now and again that a buffalo hunt goes wrong and lions are killed. That's one of the potential theories behind the death of one of the Birmingham boys, was that he had a collapsed lung from a buffalo hunt, whether it was a kick or a horn that hit him in the stomach. They are truly powerful creatures, and I find it amazing that lions are able to do this on a weekly basis. The toll it must take on their bodies, they are so phenomenally resilient. Yes, little cubs, and one day you will have to do it too. Now you've got moms to sort you out, but in the next few months you're going to have to learn. And welcome to Louise, who'd like to know a little bit more about these lion cubs. And Louise, you want to know if these cubs are the siblings of the ones that died recently? Yes, they are. Not the Styx cubs that unfortunately succumbed to their mange. These lion cubs, and in fact the adult lions as well, became seriously, I don't think the word infected is the word I'm looking for. It wasn't really infected, but they fell foul of a vitamin deficiency as a result of the fact that the buffalo they were eating was so thin and so undernourished that as a result the lions were short of vitamin E and selenium in their diet, and that resulted in something known as white muscle disease, which basically caused a complete paralysis of the muscles. And 2 of our Nkuhuma cubs succumbed. 2 more of them were also very, very ill. We were extremely concerned about them. They were walking around dragging their back legs. And the adults also started to show signs of weakness around their hindquarters. Fortunately, they obviously got a buffalo with the vitamins that they needed. They got something that managed to fix most of them. But for 2 of the Nkuhuma cubs, they weren't so lucky. And it was apparently one of the youngest litter, part of the youngest litter, one of them, and one of the oldest oldest cubs. So that would make them the siblings or cousins of the cubs that died. It was heartbreaking for all of us because, of course, we've followed these cubs since they were very, very, very small. So, and it's an inevitability. It's very, very unusual for lions to be able to raise an entire set of cubs to adulthood. There is a high mortality rate, but usually those deaths are caused by male lions or buffalo or another predator, not as a result of a basic deficiency in their diet. It was hard to watch. But we comfort ourselves in the fact that all 5 lionesses came through, and most of the cubs as well. And they're looking very happy and very healthy, if somewhat filthy. At least we know they are eating well. I think it's time for us to say goodbye to our Nkuhumas for now and start the long trek back home. So while I leave the Nkuhumas, we'll send you back across to James to find out what he has planned for the last few minutes of the safari.
I must say, I think it is probably going to be an extremely long trek from the other side because, I mean, it took about, 4 hours to get to the lion, so she's probably somewhere around Nelspruit, I think. So, yes, it's going to be a long drive back for breakfast. What I have here is a milkweed bush, and it's seeds. You can see it's produced seeds there. Highly toxic bush, of course, and this is what many butterfly species like to eat before, caterpillars like to eat before they become butterflies, specifically, of course, the monarch. And it's poisonous because of this milky latex, which I will show you now. There you can see the milky latex just starting to come out there. Very toxic indeed. Cardioglycoside, I think it produces. It's a type of toxin. I've always thought that the milkweed is the most unattractive kind of plant. Ooh! I didn't see this. Stay there, Batman. There's a brown recluse, or brown button spider, or brown widow. Can you see it there? You see its red abdomen. Batman, can you see it?
Faintly. Yeah.
Faintly. Well, I mean, it's not the size of a lion, so that's not very surprising. And I believe Jamie was talking about these earlier. Well, there is one. And I'm pretty sure that she'll have made a little egg sac somewhere in this plant. And they will hatch into more dastardly little brown recluse spiders. They've been all over the cars of late. Oh, that's what's killed this thing. She's murdered this grasshopper. See? It's got entangled in her web, and she doesn't make an orb web. She just makes the sort of mesh that anything coming past is going to get stuck in. Ha! You don't want to be bitten by her. You're unlikely to end up like that grasshopper, but still, not a very nice way to go. And I wonder, sorry, it's getting a bit windy. Let's just go up to the cottonish part here. Oh, there's the flies. There's the flies in there. That is really quite impressive. But as I was saying, I just find these plants look to me like, I don't know, there's something about them that, well, they do grow in disturbed sites, but there's something about them that makes me not uncomfortable, but I don't like looking at them. I don't find them attractive in any way. They look like they're weeds growing in a place that has been through a terrible holocaust of some sort, where there is disease and poison and no beautiful thing. Maybe that's just me. Probably just me. Let's put it back over here. Yeah, nice encouragement from Kirsten, who's back from leave there, who says, yes, baby, it is just you. Not sure why it won't go in there. Go on. Get inside. That's it. Right, brown recluse, murderous spider, murderous plant. Let's continue. Ugh. I feel slightly dirty. Anyway, let's see what else we can find through here. The vegetation has very much changed since we've come off the Cheetah cut line. That's on account of the fact that the Cheetah cut line has been cleared and it's on a crest. Now as we go down the slope towards the valley of the Greater Mulamati drainage, you can see the vegetation changing. It's certainly, it gets a little bit more clayey, and that changes the vegetation. There are a lot more knobthorn trees, no marula trees. In fact, this road is a very nice cut between the two vegetation types. If we turn this way, Craig, on the right-hand side of the road is the ridge crest, and you can see the tallest trees there are marula trees, and they grow on the crests. And as you come away from the crest, you can see the silver cluster leaf trees, perhaps. They're the, well, unsurprisingly, silvery coloured ones. And then as you move away from the seep line, which is where they are growing, and you come down towards, well, you start moving down towards the slope, you get the guarri bushes, and you get the knobthorn trees, which are acacias. Those are the big tall ones here. And then down into a few other sort of broad-leafed evergreens down towards the drainage line. So this road is a really nice cut between two different vegetation types, and you might indeed call it an ecotone. Right, I think that's going to be it from the bushwalk, everyone. We're going to try and make our way back to the car and then back for breakfast, for which I'm very excited indeed. Let's head across to Brent Leo Smith for the last minutes of the drive. Thank you very much for coming on walk.
Well, I wonder if James is running for his seeds. As we made a little joke about James's eating habits not that long ago, and how he likes his seeds for breakfast. Xongile, on the other hand, does not like seeds at all. She's got poultry on the brain, and I think she's really hoping she can snag herself a duck. Well, the ducks have moved into the middle and are quite far away from her, so no such luck just yet for our little princess, but she is in the right spot to play the patience game for the rest of the day. I'm hoping she's still going to be here this afternoon. Hopefully when we do get back, there'll just be piles of duck down flying in the wind and attached to the trees, because she would have been successful in catching one of the little quackers. Now, I can't see the one adult. It's around somewhere, and I can't see all the babies. I think I counted 12 originally, and I see 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. So, sorry, 12 in total, 10 babies, 2 adults. Alright, Xongile. Oh, is she moving? I just saw her head move. I just saw the slightest bit of movement, but I don't think she is moving. I think she's still looking like she's very comfortable, and she's found a nice spot, and as it warms up she might get to snack on a terrapin or two if her duck quest does not succeed. It is just amazing how camouflaged they are. Now if Vim comes out wide just a little bit, I mean, I cannot make her out from where I am. That's probably, hey Vim, what do you think? That's about human eye frame, eh? Yeah, so that's about it. So that's what I'm looking at with my eye. And I only know she's there because we saw her go lie down there. But the only time I ever see is I pick up a little bit of movement. I can't actually distinguish any part of her from this distance. Well, lucky for us, we've had leopard and a lion this morning, so it has been a cat day come early. Hopefully, cat day continues through to Saturday, and we are going to be inundated with big cats. So lovely, the Nkuhumas on a buffalo kill, and hopefully, fingers crossed that sometime in the next couple of days, Queen Karula makes an appearance again, and Xongile happens to fill that empty belly of hers. And of course we always hope her brother's going to come for a visit as well. Wouldn't that be exciting? But it has been great to start with a big cat. VM and I are both still very happy that Xongile is back, and I think we might come back here this afternoon. VM, what do you think? Nod of the head from VM. So we've got no cool names like Bond and Batman, so just from VM and Brent, we'll see you on the Sunset Safari for the next adventure.